Kevin Hunter here on the Business Forum Show, and my special guest is Jake Archambault, and you can find him online at archierenewal.com. Again, that's archierenewal.com, and the whole business name is Archie Renewal Pressure Washing. You can also call the office at 612-567-7639, and we'll come back to that if you missed it. First of all, welcome to the show, Jake.
Thanks for having me.
So let's elaborate a little bit on your business. You have your organization is pressure washing, but what specifically do you do? Because when people think of pressure washing, they're going, well, maybe you clean a deck or you wash a car or whatever. Talk about the kind of the rainbow of different types of things you can do with pressure washing.
I wash just about anything you can hold still long enough to wash. I don't do a lot of vehicle washing other than my own car.
Right.
But the bulk of my work is exterior wood, clean it, and restain it. Also a lot of concrete, clean it, and again, restain it, reseal it to make sure it's going to last as long as it should.
There was something that you mentioned about cleaning stamped and colored concrete, and we'll talk about some of the other things you do as well. But I want to visit about that just real briefly, because you mentioned that with regardless of what color people use there, it tends to discolor, and by you cleaning it, you can actually make it look as good as new. So talk about that real quick.
Right. So when you pour concrete, no matter what, if it's stamped or regular, you can put a sealer on it when you're done. And that's typically an invisible sealer. It's going to hold the concrete, it's going to help it harden, it's going to help it last long. But there's nothing on the surface there to keep the dirt from piling up or to keep the concrete from fading from the UV from the sun. I've found that after about 5 years, no matter what color you pour it, it fades to kind of this pinkish, tannish blah.
Yeah.
So what I can do is come out and clean all that dirt off, clean the bacteria growth off, rust stains, oil stains, that stuff, and then put a nice sealer down there so you can see all the texture and see all the extra color that's actually in that stamped concrete.
Make it look good as new. So talk about decks as well, because you clean decks, and you know what? I had kind of a bad experience. Obviously, I didn't know what I was doing. I had kind of a bad experience pressure washing a deck, and maybe I was using too much pressure or too close or whatever else, but it really tore up the grain of the wood. So how do you pressure wash a deck properly?
That is the number one mistake with folks pressure washing their own decks. I was there years ago doing the same thing where you're blowing the fibers out of the wood, and it's too much pressure. The difference between what the average homeowner is going to do and what I'm going to do is all in the chemicals that I use. The potency that you can buy at your local big box store is not nearly enough to clean most sealers. So what I do, and they're safe and environmentally friendly and all that stuff, is I blend all my own chemicals to make sure that your sealer is going to come off with very low pressure. Most of the wood cleaning I do is done with about 1,200 psi, so about the same as your local car wash.
Okay.
Very gentle, and you don't have those wood fibers all over.
Let's talk about the chemistry thing real quick, because you mentioned that you stunk it up in high school and college with chemistry, and this is worthless. And actually, now you got your own little chemistry lab, and you're mixing up environmentally friendly cleaners all the time. Talk about how you use chemistry today, because there's a learning lesson here for people.
Well, in high school and again in college, I failed chemistry twice, and that was because you walk into class, and the first thing in Chem 101 is memorize all of this stuff.
All these formulas and whatever. Yeah.
So when I started this business, I found out that there's not a lot of effective detergents out there to do what I do. So I started looking at, okay, what maybe use CLR or Lime-A-Way or something in the house to remove a rust stain. Well, how can I make that more potent and more environmentally friendly and bring it outside and use it? So I'd find out what the raw ingredients are and find out proper neutralizers and everything so that I could be more effective and faster and still environmentally friendly.
Talk about that piece a little bit, because when you mention about being environmentally friendly, a lot of times you're out cleaning exteriors or decks or whatever where family and kids are involved, and there's some steps that you take to make sure that the chemicals that you're using are not harmful to the families and their children. Visit about that a little bit.
So if you have toddlers in your house, they're going to love watching me work, because it's a big squirt gun, and I think that's part of why I enjoy what I do. I play with a big squirt gun. But as soon as I'm done playing on their, working or playing on their deck or on their play system or whatever I'm working on, the first thing the kids are going to want to come out and do when I'm done is splash into puddles.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
And I make sure before I leave that all of those puddles are properly neutralized, safe for them, safe for the pets, and safe for the planet, so that when those kids come out and splash in the puddles, they don't melt.
Mm-hmm. So it really isn't any different than them splashing around in tub water at that point?
Absolutely not. For decks, it neutralized, the two chemicals I use neutralize down into salt and carbon and oxygen within minutes of me completing it.
Wow. So talk about some of your struggles and challenges in business, because everybody has them, and what are some of the challenges or hurdles that you're facing in your organization?
I'm busy. I'm very busy, and I was not prepared for it to be this busy. I've never, I guess, had an issue finding the work. There's not a lot of competition out there for me. So I've never had a hard time finding the work. This year, the work found me, and I was not prepared. I didn't have systems in place to train, to hire, to manage people at all. So I've spent my summer, struggling to keep up with the workload and plan for the future so this doesn't happen again. So.
Yeah, that can actually be every bit as big a problem for organizations, because, I mentioned to you that 7 out of 10 business people that come in and out of the studio all the time will say their number one complaint is not enough leads, not enough customers. For you, it's the other way. Too many leads, too many customers. And you nonetheless have to manage that likewise, because it creates a whole...
Right.
It's a problem you like to have, but it creates a whole different list of problems as well, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
So let's talk about that briefly, and we're just about out of time, but what have you done, what do you think has contributed to filling that funnel for your organization? Because so many people out there would go, hey, I want to know what is Jake doing that he has too many clients. I want to have that problem.
My secret, I guess, is that I specialize. I get asked constantly, can you build a fence? Can you build a deck? Can you reside my house? These are things I'm capable of, but I specialize in what I do. And because I specialize, I can do things faster, I can do things better, and most often cheaper than anybody else out there. Any contractor, any painter can try to offer you deck restoration services, but because it's what I do, I'm going to do it better, faster, and cheaper. And that's where the work comes from. Do it better, do it cheaper. There's
a great lesson there for business people in general, because a lot of people think that the different things that they are capable of doing and could be doing, that's another client. No, specializing actually is a really big piece of that, because your focus has lent to a very full funnel in your organization. My special guest here on the Business Forum show is Jake Archambault, and you can find him online, archierenewal.com. Again, Kevin Hunter here on the Business Forum show. Thanks for listening.